Thank you and welcome back to the show today. The topic this morning is beautiful skies over challenged lives. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about beautiful skies over challenged lives, Africa at the 21st century, an evangelist, Reverend EStephens1. Reverend Stephens is the evangelist as well as a pastor involved with the Peter's Rock Fellowship. And of course, Reverend Stephens, let me allow you later on to perhaps talk about Peter's Rock and the fellowship and et cetera, because I'm almost sure that I did not get that all correct. But nevertheless, we're happy to have you here. And as we indicated to our audience this morning, that we want to talk about Africa at the 21st century. I think we've had a number of shows dealing with Africa, and I think that you, having gone to Africa quite recently, can give us a lot of information, first-hand information, that I'm sure that our audience will appreciate it. But now, before we get started, Reverend Stephens, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of bringing you here, and then we'll talk about other things.
Sure. Dr. Haney, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be able to come and share those things that God will allow me to witness in Africa. I'm EStephens1. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I grew up and graduated from Hume Fogg High School and ran off and went to the Navy at the age of 17, came back and was a veteran by 20. After doing that, I was educated at the University of Tennessee, Tennessee State University, and most recently, in the last degree I received was from Tribeca Nazareth College at the time, where I received my master's in counseling. God called me into the ministry in the streets of Nashville in 1988 and birthed a ministry in me called Peter's Rock Christian Fellowship. Presently, at Peter's Rock Christian Fellowship is a three-legged stool. There are three things that we do. One of the things that we do is that I minister by way of newsletter to 25 to 40 individuals, both men and women, across the nation in jails, federal and state penitentiary, as far as Taft, California, and as close as CCA at Harding Place. And I minister to men and women in newsletter, encouraging them in the things of God. That's one of the things that we do. The other thing that we do is that I facilitate a Bible study in Laverne, Tennessee, Exit 64, at a program called Lifetime Recovery. Do it weekly, do it on Saturdays at 2:30, and we just have an awesome time studying the Word of God and encouraging those who are coming to know Him in the Word of God. And then most recently, God put on the plate the assignment to go to Africa. Specifically, I heard in 2005 that I was to go to a place in northern Kenya, southern Sudan, called Kakuma, which is a refugee camp. Observation of information on the internet will reveal that there's 180,000 folk there. When I was there, they told me it was only about 60,000 because the Civil War of 22 years had subsided somewhat. Folk were being encouraged to return to their villages. And so the numbers were, while I was there, something like 60,000. God gave us an opportunity to go and minister His goodness, His grace, and His love to those that was there in the refugee camp. So I am right now excited about things that look like partnershiping so that we can meet the need, Peter's Rock that is, and those who have partnered with us, those who are willing to partner with us, that we can meet the needs of some of the children, widows, and widows and children that we met in Africa. We saw a lot of disease, we saw a lot of depression, we saw a lot of sickness, and we saw a lot of healing. And God is just as real today as He was in the book of Acts in the days of old. And so we went and moved throughout the villages in Kakuma. We ministered in and around Kenya, there in Nairobi. We adopted 2 villages at this point, one in a place called Langata, another one in Kabera, and Gong Hills. Actually, we're looking at doing 3, embracing 3 different villages.
Did the people really come out for this kind of activity?
They were so excited about the gospel. folk who spend time in and around Kenya would tell you that 80% of those in Kenya are Christian. 20% would be Muslim. And so I felt like sometimes I was preaching to the choir. It didn't take a whole lot to start a fire. And so we would praise God. I would go out into the streets, into the villages, and just minister the gospel of Jesus Christ and encourage folk to embrace Jesus.
Very good. And of course, we're making preparations for our first commercial break here, Reverend Stephens. And when we come back, we'll have you to talk about some of the other things that you saw in South Africa. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. We're talking to Evangelist